Hi, welcome to Mandyland. This is the second one of Marley. We named this podcast Marley. So I need you to go back right now and watch the former one, the one right before this one, and we're going to dive right back into Billie's story and all the amazing things that happened after. And we just heard her incredibly deep, wow story of her losing her baby. And even though it's hard for me to say that because I know that her baby is right here with us. Like, and I feel her. I know she's right here. And I could feel her the entire time. But needless, I mean, honestly, this is one of the most painful things that we experience in this world. And it's incredibly deep and painful. And I'm honored that Billie, you just shared all of that with me. And this is such a sacred space. And it just melts my heart and I just wanted to come through and hug you and like, just wow, you are an incredible, incredible woman. And I just thank you for all that you are and all that you're doing. And okay, we're going to jump back in, and I want you to continue.
Yeah.
And you can take this wherever you like to go from here.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you. Listen, there's something beautiful about the space that you're creating for people to share. This is the first time that I've ever publicly shared these stories on a platform like this. So thank you for the opportunity again. Um, so, I think I left off kind of talking or starting to talk about like, soul contracts and believing that we choose some of the things we go through. And I want to elaborate more on that, but I want to mention something else too that just, that really had a huge impact on everything that was taking place those few short days after, Marley left this timeline. The morning after my first night at home, I woke up to a detective, to police officers, to photographers, to just a whole party of people on my front porch because, at that time, living in South Carolina, just over the border, that was their job. That's what they had to do. They had to investigate that, what took place in my home. And you know that was tough. That was
You bet.
absolutely. I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't ready for that.
On
But it
top
had
of
to happen.
everything that you
And
had just been through, like, what the
yeah,
hell? Like, on top of that, which was already incredibly intense and traumatic, right?
yeah,
Jeez. Okay, keep going.
immediately.
God.
Yeah, immediately that happened. So, yeah. So, I have some incredible people, friends, family in my life. So, you know, two of my brothers were here, and we had just a house full of people. Two of sister-in-laws, everyone that you can imagine from both sides of the family was here at the house, and two of my brothers and two of Marley's father's sisters joined together and they went out and started. That's my baby right there. Yeah. She had the biggest, they started blue. They were blue for a year and then, they turned grayish after that. But my gorgeous baby. Thank you for that, Mandy. Um,
Showing pictures, I want you to keep talking.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So they immediately went out and started trying to find where we wanted to have services. They went and looked at some grave sites and started doing those things for us, which took a big load off of us, right? But after, a couple days, they wanted us to come start looking at these places with them and decide what was best for Marley and for us. And that's when things started getting very, very interesting. We went to a funeral home. The first one didn't feel quite right. We went to the second one. We sat down in this room and it was a big room. There was like a table that you could imagine at like a board meeting or something. And we sat there with the two brothers, the two sister-in-laws, myself, Marley's father, the director of the funeral home, and they brought in a tray of waters for us. And, we were all sitting there talking about the decisions we had to make. We had to we had a lot of choices, that at the time seemed very, superficial and like not important, but we had to make them. So, again, they brought this tray of waters in, and the waters were just brought right in from the fridge, and they were cold, and you could see that they had the condensation already dripping off of them. And they put a water in front of each of us. And, as we started to go through the conversation, my bottle of water burst, and it bursted so big and so loud that everyone in that room dropped to the floor because they thought that it was a bullet coming through the window or somewhere. And that was one of the first, after the ladybugs, signs that Marley gave me to let me know that she's right there with me. She wasn't going anywhere, right? And things like that continued to happen. I mean, so much so that I was just looking around me like, she's everywhere. She's everywhere. Right. So I do want to share a couple of those stories with you. So my sister-in-law and my brother, the only brother that I have that shares the same mother and the same father with me, they have been kind of on a spiritual journey for a very long time. I would probably say close to 20 years. And it was something that I was never really, open minded to, because again, I was programmed and I had the fear of believing something than other than what I had already always been taught, and hell and all of these things, right? So anyway, they've always kind of been on, that type of vibration and thought process and mindset and belief system. And so the day before the services, we'd already picked, the home, we'd already picked the cemetery, we'd already done all of that. My sister-in-law was like, hey, let's get out of the house, me and you. Let's go to Hobby Lobby. I had told her that, the space where I was going to put a lot of pictures of Marley for her service, I wanted to have like some bright flowers and some just different things to really honor her and just her beauty and everything. And she said, okay, let's go to Hobby Lobby. So on the way out of or on the way out of our door to get in the car, she said, I just need to share something with you. She was like, I don't know what it means. She said, I don't even really know this song, because she didn't grow up in the church like my brother and I did. She was like, but there's this song that keeps playing over and over in my mind. And it even popped up on a reel on Facebook. And she was like, because I've seen it now several times, I feel like I need to share it with you. And I said, oh, what song is it? And she said, and she started to sing it. And she said, what a friend we have in Jesus. Like she went through the whole song. And I was like, yes, I know that song. I grew up singing that song, in church, whatever. Okay. So we went about our day. So we go to Hobby Lobby. We're there, we're picking out things. We get to the cash register. I don't know if you've ever been to Hobby Lobby. I love, Hobby Lobby is great for a lot of things,
Mhm.
but not being confusing about the promos they have going on in the store is not one of the things they're great at. So the person checking us out was equally as confused, trying to figure out what was on sale and what, special edition it was. And so by the time we get through it, I'm just like, oh, okay, saying, why is this taking so long? What is happening? Why are we still here? And no, that wasn't the right price. Okay, I just want to get these things. I don't care how much they cost. I just want to go, right? So we get out to my car, we pop the trunk. I had a couple things in my trunk that I handed to my sister-in-law, and she went to go put in the trash can. And while she's gone, there's a vehicle a couple spaces over from where we parked, and I hear something, and I'm like, there is no way. There is absolutely no way. I get her and she walks over, and I'm like, do you hear that? And she was like, what is it? It sounded like music playing in a car with a window rolled up, right? And I'm like, no, do you hear that? So I walk over to the car, and it's an older gentleman in his car with his windows rolled up. And I'm banging on the window, and I mean, he is just like, somebody's trying. I'm in Hobby Lobby parking lot and someone's whatever. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm like, can you show me or play whatever you were just playing on, your radio or whatever? So he pops out a CD and he shows it to me, and it's called Blue Country Hymnals 101 something, right? And so he puts it back in, and I said, okay, can, play the song? So it's a long acoustic intro, and then you hear a man say, "What a friend we have in Jesus." And my sister-in-law and I just collapsed into each other's arms. It wasn't about the words of the song. It wasn't, to me at that time, I wasn't, thinking about the difference between Christ and Christ consciousness and all of those things. Like I hadn't learned any of that. I didn't know anything about that. But what it was Marley showing me, like, I got you. I got you. I'm over and over again. I got you. And I didn't know at the time everything that was going to happen and evolve. And so when I got up to speak, because I did do Marley's eulogy, I did get up and speak for her. And I told the story, and I said, I don't know what this means yet. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's coming from or why she gave me this, but I have to share this with you, this group that was there. So I did. And it was just powerful in that moment, and I I said that when I said, this is something I don't think I've ever said out loud, but after I told this story, I said to some people, you might not believe, or I said to everyone, I said, some people might not, believe that this happened or believe me or whatever. And then I told my story. And then afterwards I was in, talking to everyone that had come there to support. And a family member stepped me aside and they said, don't ever do that again. Don't ever say somebody out there might not believe you or somebody out there might not think that this is real or whatever. And again, I didn't know how powerful that statement was until way later, with the difference in thinking something and knowing something and living in the truth of something, right? So anyway, so as we are leaving, something that I didn't mention earlier when we were in the hospital, my son Malachi, I really struggled with knowing if I should let him come into the hospital to see his baby sister. Again, she was swollen, she was bruised, she was on a machine breathing, but something inside of me told me, like, yes, like this is okay. He will be fine. This won't create, a traumatic thing for him. He needs to have this moment where he's able to say goodbye, right? So I did. I brought him in, and he brought with him two things. He brought her water bottle, because they always have their little sippy cup water bottles that they carry around. And he brought a Band-Aid. And the Band-Aid was, he put it on her face, and it was like a kind of neon, like a ombre, like neon colored, like pink, green, orange. And he put it on her, right? So back to the day of her service, we're all leaving, everyone's left, we're kind of the last people to leave, we've got all of our stuff. And I look down and my niece is sitting in a chair, as we're exiting the funeral home. And on the bottom of her shoe is that exact Band-Aid right there. I looked down and I saw that Band-Aid right there on the bottom of her shoe, right? Um, and those three things right there alone, the water bottle, the song, the Band-Aid, those are things that I find people, they're like, that's a coincidence. That, that doesn't mean anything. And they overlook those things. I get to, mentor and counsel and help people through the sessions that I have now. And they'll say things to me like, my loved one never gives me signs. They don't, I ask for them to do this and I ask for them. And I'm like, well, you know, two things. One, I guarantee you they are, and you're just thinking it's a coincidence. And two, ask them,
Yes.
ask them for those signs.
Yes.
They will give them to you. Be
Yes.
patient and
Hmm.
they will come. That's part of, the book that I'm writing is about the synchronicities, and the markers is what I'm calling them, my markers from Marley, because they're popping up all the time. Ladybugs. And I am someone who is always on the go. I'm always busy. I'm always thinking about what I have to do next within my career, my kids, or the projects and everything. What's next? What's next? So oftentimes I will overlook some of those details. So I asked Marley specifically to send them to other people that will know what they mean and to have them send those to me. So I cannot tell you um, just countless times throughout my weeks. And still now, even 4 years later, I get pictures of ladybugs. I get screenshots of people's phones that say 1122. There's some very special songs, that we have with Marley, and sending those to me where they'll hear them, even like Baby Shark was one of her little, songs at the time. And I'll get, different things where people are, wherever they are and they hear the song and it's just like reminds them of her. And so, um, something else that I really want to mention about, that time, 4 years ago, there were so many people that were there for us that had, because of Marley, they mended their relationships with each other. It was so beautiful to see things like, my first husband, his mother, she had experienced the loss of a child, and she had been an advocate for many things and involving children with disabilities, and just like a very, wise, been through so many things. And but whenever I had the new person come in, it caused some tension, and there's always things that come in the multi-family dynamics, and there was a whole long period of not talking with my ex-husband, the new husband, and all of that. And all of those things, and there were so many other ones, all of those things just got pushed to the side. And people were hugging each other and loving each other and just building, on the pain. Yeah. So, um, but I do want to go back, if it's okay, to what I started to talk about with the planning of that event. There were other events and things that I have experienced in this timeline that could have been the catapult for the, provoking that awakening within me to understanding who we are and why we're here and how powerful we really are. But I just never got there out of fear, I'm sure. So I truly believe that that soul, that spirit of my Marley, and I planned that if we're at this point in life and this you're not there yet, let's have this wild, painful event happen that will wake your behind up and get you to, start, understanding and tuning in and tapping into, who you are, but also the gifts that you have, which we all have, right? To connect with those. So my grandmother, who passed away when I was 13, um, she was with me during just some really wild family dynamics that I went through. I actually lived with her from, I think the ages of probably 11 to 13, while I was in middle school, and I didn't want to live with my father and the wife that he had at that time. And I was going through a lot of trauma that really was created from the church. I would be afraid to sleep at night, because I was afraid, Mandy, that the rapture was going to happen, and I was going to not say the sinner's prayer that night. I was going to forget, and I was going to not make the rapture, and I was going to go straight to hell. And I made myself so sick during that time when I lived with my father, and the wife that he had at the time, she wouldn't allow me to sleep in the same room with other siblings, or, fall asleep in the room with, my father while he was watching TV or whatever. Those things that comforted my mind, slowed my mind down, got me to think about other things versus, the fact that the rapture was going to happen and that trumpet was going to sound and I was going to get left behind. But anyway, that grandmother, when I lived with her, she would sit by my bed, and she would hold my hand, and I would ask her to read to me. I would ask her to tell me stories, and she would be there to comfort me during that time that I had with her, to help me to eventually get my body to be calm enough to be able to sleep and to not, just be staying up in fear all night. So, she died at a very young age. She was 59, and she had congestive heart failure. And I was living with her at the time that happened. I was away at camp, but I came home from camp and she was gone. But she was always with me. And then I believe and I know, see, that's what I'm talking about. I don't say like that person that took me aside. Now I speak in absolute truth. I know, I believe, I know that my daughter was the reincarnated soul of my grandmother,
Yeah.
who came here to experience that, that pain and that lesson with me. And we planned it. And she, many times I've been told that she accomplished the goal that she came here to do, and she still stays very close to me now because she wants to create through me. She wants to still accomplish some of those other things that she wants to do through me. So I have other projects that I know we are collaborating on, but that really took me down the path of getting my practitioner certification with QHHT, and becoming a past life regressionist, because I truly wanted to understand for myself and be able to help others to experience the beauty of connecting the dots with who our soul has been and will be and is, and how everything ties back to that, right? Like, how when I do a session, I'll usually spend 3 to 4 hours with someone, and we'll just start by talking about the main characters in their life, and talking about their health conditions or concerns, or their fears, and then we get to go through the session and we get to connect the dots, and they get to experience things that they normally wouldn't. And people are so afraid, Mandy, of hypnosis, right? They think, oh, you're going to make me do things I don't want to do. You're going to make me quack like a duck and bark like a duck, or bark like a duck. Yeah, all those things, right? Because
Yep.
that's what we see. But it's honestly, you have so much control in those situations. It's all about just being open and being relaxed. I believe it is. I trust the process so much, that I've done a session with my 14-year-old daughter, and I did that session with her as she was turning 13, and she had some beautiful experiences within that. So
Wow. I find that so fascinating, just the past life regressions, And I told you I've never done it before, but I've done it a
yeah,
little bit, like I've tapped into it a little bit on my own, but I do love hypnosis. But see, those are things that we were taught, years ago, that our patterns and programs of, being in the church and being a Christian and doing all the things that you none of that is true though. Hypnosis is one, like I do that every night before I go to bed. I have some specific ones I do
yeah,
before I sleep, and it really puts me right to sleep, and it's so peaceful. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
thank
yeah. It is.
I just love hearing all of the moments that you've had and you would continue to have. And I mean, I really feel Marley, and I told you, like, in between our podcasts, like I was texting you and I was like, I had to name it. I was like, we needed to name this podcast. And I was like, what am
Yeah.
I wasn't even a question. I was like, Marley. I was like, you are so powerful,
So
beautiful little divine being, that is just so like right here with her mama, and just so proud of you, and just oh my gosh, just lights up. Like I can feel her energy right now, just loving you, so proud of you, and thanking you, for
yeah,
everything you did with her. Every second meant the world to her, and every second now, means the world to her to be with you. And like you said, and I'm gonna tell you, with my mom, after she had passed, she actually came to me and she said, if you think that I have left you, you need to think again. That will never happen.
um,
That will never, ever,
listen,
ever happen. Like, I will always be with you. And she gives me signs 24/7. Like, she is constantly. Matter of fact, I have a specific thing that I normally don't say publicly, that I said, I need you to show me this sign whenever you're really present or you're getting my attention. And oh my God, she gives me
you
that
got
sign
it.
all the time. And I tell people that I'm like, do
Yes,
you want to connect with them? Because they're not off in, heaven somewhere way away. No, they're in a different dimension, but it's right here. It is right
yeah,
here. you know?
Yeah.
And they're so close. We're the ones that go through the tragic pain and all the things. They're not. They're happy as ever, skipping around, having fun, enjoying everything and being, with us and wants us to heal, wants us to, wake up and be this beautiful divine being that we are and having our mission of what we're supposed to do and be here, and it's so
Yeah.
incredible, it really is. And one of the stories that, with my mom is that right before she died, and I've talked about this on, like, I think on TikTok or something, but right before she passed away, it was that last night, and I could tell she was in a lot of pain, and she had cancer, and I could tell that she was in the hospital, and I could tell she was in a lot of pain, and she couldn't say it. It was at the point where, I knew she was about to go, but we didn't know how long. So I had to go home that night and was getting some sleep or trying to. But it dawned on me, oh my God, she's in so much pain. I called the nurse and I'm like, can you please give my mom some pain medicine? I was like, first of all, has she had any? She said, no, she hasn't. I was like, would you please give her some? And she said, yes. And I said, my ear's ringing right now. I know my mom, so oh my God, I just know that she's with your little Marley right now. Oh my God. This is so I love it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I just when I feel their energy, I'm just like I feel it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I called the nurse and I was like, yeah, I was like, can you give my mom some pain medicine? And she said, yes, I will. She said, matter of fact, I already did. No, she said, yeah. She said, I already did. She said, I took one look at her tonight. She said, when I got into my shift and I could tell what you're saying is true, and I went ahead and gave it to her. And I was like, well, I was like, thank you. When can you give her the next, And she said, in 4 hours, I'll go in 4 hours. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. She went in 4 hours later, and it eased my mom's body enough to where she could just let go. And
Yeah.
and she passed, on from there like 4 hours later. And then, and I got the call, and I remember resting my head on the shower door. But I mean, like, just like, like, oh my God, I can't stand to see her in so much pain. Like, I just couldn't. And so, and she went shortly after that, within 30 minutes, I got the call. And so, but fast forward about, I don't know, let's say about 3 or 4 weeks later, maybe months later, I don't remember. I just know that I was sitting on my bed having one of those cries that are just deep, like one of those really deep, grieving cries, and I'm missing her, and I'm like, it just dawned on me that, oh my God, Mom, you were in the hospital for so long and I didn't give you any pain medicine and you couldn't tell me, and all of that time you were in pain, and I'm so sorry. I hate that you had to do this, and I was just telling her all this stuff, and I'm crying. And before it could get to the really deep, ugly cry to where you there's no return, she stopped me. She entered into my,
Yeah.
like, I felt it like a breeze, like she came in and she goes, stop,
Stop. Stop.
stop.
Yeah.
Mandy, I am 100% happy and okay and alive and well. And I need you not to carry that, honey. I need you
Yeah.
not to carry that anymore. That is not yours to carry. It happened
Yeah.
every way it was supposed to. And I was supposed to go when I did because I needed you. I needed to be here for you on this side of things. On that side, while she was here on earth, she was so into the religion because she did exchange one crutch for another. She was an alcoholic, and then from there she went straight into the church and stuff. And so it just kind of, it was, and she had a beautiful heart, and I loved her so much, but there was so much barriers between us because I was breaking free from all of it. I was, like you said, I'm getting more free than I've ever felt before. I'm learning how to love
Yeah.
and get rid of this unforgiveness and this heaviness, and I'm coming into my own, and she didn't understand it. Blew her mind. It was such a mind fuck for her because she was like, she would just look at me and just be like, I don't get it.
Oh,
You're
well,
not praising Jesus
yeah.
all the time, but you're happy. Like, I don't understand. And so
Yeah.
she would look at me like that. And so, anyways, but now, like, on this side of it, she's like, I needed to be here for your evolution. You know,
Mhm.
I needed to be here for your freedom and to
Yeah,
everything that you're going to do. I want to be there. I want to support you. And I couldn't do that where I was. And I was just like, damn.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. Yeah,
So,
I wrote that down when you said that. I said, okay, I need to come back and mention, I don't want to say something about that because that right there just proves we are energy. We never die. We just change forms. And the form that your mother, uh, changed into was one that could actually be who you needed in that moment in your timeline. That's beautiful.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so crazy. I wanted to also tell you that my grandson, I have a grandson named Malachi.
Oh, wow. We've had so many parallels since we've started this few hours of knowing each other.
I know, I know, I know. I was just
Wow.
so just drawn to, you know, I want people to understand that we do feel all of the pain. And we walk through those tragic things. And even still, if there's layers of healing that I need to walk through, I will feel them. I will heal them. I will alchemize them, and I'll
Sure.
get to on the other side of it and be stronger for it, you know? And
Yes.
in the midst of it, it's like it's chaotic. It's hard, right? But
Yes.
whenever
Yeah.
you get on the other side of it, and this is what you and I both, this is what we teach. This is how we help other people heal, and the
Yeah.
processes of it. And to be there in the moment, it's like you really do feel it. You're really there in it. And it's not that you
Yeah.
skipped over anything. You haven't skipped you. There's no way you could. You don't just
Right.
get to the
Right.
other side without walking through all of it. And
Yeah.
we are such powerful human beings. And ah, I'm just, I,
Yes.
I'm just,
It's not about it's about accepting, right? The things that we've been through, but not being defined by them. When you accept them, you acknowledge them, you
mhm,
learn from them. You don't have to live in them. You don't have to be in misery. You don't have to be defined by your pain. You don't have to be defined by your trauma. Just accept it and acknowledge that it happened and
mhm.
learn from it.
That's
That's
right.
it.
That's right.
That's the part because people a lot of times people want to they want to live in it, and that's part of letting go and learning too. Like, I don't have to live in this space. I
No.
don't have to be here. Society wants you to just, to fear and to hate and to um to just be, every to conform to everything that says you are a human that experience. That's the way you say you experience things, is by living in them in misery, and we don't have to do that.
No, we don't.
It's okay. No matter how hard the trauma was, no matter what the pain was, accept it. It doesn't define you.
Right.
Learn from it,
That's right.
help others through it, but you don't have to be in misery. You don't have to. You
Mm-mm.
don't. And
No.
that doesn't mean that you don't grieve and, like you said, have those moments where are still healing. I still daily am, thinking about Marley, and there are times where I cry and there's times where I smile,
Hmm.
because of, where I have been able to grow to and learn from, and yeah, that's the hard part for people.
It really is.
It
I just
is.
I just think your story is so inspiring. Like just, to let people know that you don't have to, like you will feel it and it will hit. And one of the things that someone told me about grief, and I'm so thankful for her, it's actually my daughter's mother-in-law. And she, after my mom had passed, one of the things that helped me the most was when she told my daughter, please tell your mom this, that grief is going to hit you when it does. You could be in the grocery store grabbing a bag of peas or grabbing some carrots, and bam, like it can just hit you out of
Um,
nowhere. And when it does, you be with yourself, and that actually helped me, because I didn't realize it was going to hit when it did, and it has. And like you said, there's moments
yeah.
I cry and there's moments where I'm happy. Yeah, I mean, where I'm thinking and I'm with her and she's giving me messages and like and the healing that's happened between us. I have healed. Our relationship is healed. And it's oh my gosh, it's hard to explain
Beautiful.
that, but the relationship is healed since then, and I love that,
I get it.
I love that.
Yes. I
Mhm.
That is huge because people fear death, Mandy. They're so afraid. They're so afraid to die. But in your story, your mother, she died, she left this timeline, but she's still here with you and your relationship is better than it
Mhm.
was when she was here. Don't
Mhm.
fear death because it's not the end. Yeah, we have amnesia for a little bit, we come back, we go. I get it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's not the end. Death is not scary. But we're taught that. We're
Yeah.
programmed that, with the dark and the Grim Reaper coming in and all of that, when, but people also think that it's very morbid or very wrong for you to think about like the joys of someone, I read something one time where it was like when you can sit in a service for your grandma or for whomever, with kids, it's difficult because they haven't had that life of experiences, right? But when you can sit in that service with your grandmother and like, yes, I'm going to miss my grandma, but you know what, she's still here. She
Yes.
is still here. This is not a time of pain. This is a time to be happy for her because we know, everything that she's about to experience or that she is right now, as she's left. So that's when like the real healing has come, is when you can be in those painful moments, you can experience the emotion, but then you're able to also see the other side of it simultaneously, which is this is actually beautiful. This is
Mhm.
actually beautiful. She's still here, you
Mhm.
know?
She is. And I think that they're talking to us all the time. Like I do. I feel like they're constantly, trying to get our attention. Or there was one time that we had something tragic happen to my grandson. And we have just a couple minutes left. But I wanted to say this, but my mom was trying to tell me that something was about to happen. And I didn't know, she was giving me a warning,
Mhm.
and I was just, I
Yes.
wonder, and I could feel, I knew something, and but it ended up being okay, like a rock shot through his mouth, and
Mhm.
and it was, yeah, from like 80 feet away. It was from a firework or something, and he ended up being fine, but like bam, bam, like all the way across, and didn't hit any organs or anything, and like. But my mom was trying to get my attention to let me know, and I
Yep.
mean, they're
Yep.
constantly speaking to us or giving love
Pay
to us,
attention. Yeah.
sharing. Yes.
Pay
But I
attention.
would you be willing to join me again on a podcast where we can share about, our stories with religion or whatever we want to share about, but I would love to have you back.
I
Would you
would love to. I think we could probably do a whole year worth of sessions, podcasts together.
we could
I'm sure we could. I
we
would be
totally
honored.
could.
Anytime you let me know.
Well, I just want to thank you so much. This was so sacred. And so I just wanted to, I would keep saying that word, but this is so sacred. Marley's sacred. You're sacred. And just
Yes.
everything you are is sacred. And I thank you for allowing me to hold that space. I'm so honored.
Likewise, friends. Likewise, friend. Thank you. I am honored. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate you so
Oh,
much. This is a beautiful space that you have.
thank you so much. I'm
Mhm.
going to go back and watch this myself because uh, Marley is so precious. I have less than a minute here, but I wanted to do. Where are you at? Let me see if I can do it. Where are you at? Marley's not done.
Good.
She is a powerful little beautiful thing. Look at that. We love you, Marley.
Yes.
Thank you
I
so
love
much
you,
for being
Mom.
with us.
Yes.
And
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Mom.
bringing your mama to me. Thank you so much.
No accidents. No accidents. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Mandy.
You're welcome. Well, we'll talk to you soon then.
Talk soon. You have a good night.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.